The overall structure of Sefer Devarim comprises a series of 3 speeches that Moshe makes to the nation in the final year of his life, just before the Bnei Israel proceeded into Eretz Canaan. The 3 speeches are bracketed by a short introduction, and the Sefer ends with an account of Moshe's final days, along with his actual death, recorded in Devarim Perek 34. The third of Moshe's 3 addresses to the nation begins in Devarim Perek 29, in which Moshe undertakes a renewal of the Brit made at Har Sinai. The Perek opens with a general introduction of 8 pasukim, in which Moshe reminds the people of the many miracles that they had witnessed from the time that they left Egypt 40 years earlier to their arrival at the borders of Eretz Israel. This leads into a series of warnings against complacency and arrogance, resulting in a possible rejection of the Brit. He informs them of the dire consequences that will result from such a rejection. The Perek ends with a single pasuk, which is quite enigmatic, in which Moshe Rabbeinu tells the people that Hanistarot LaHashem Elokeinu, that the ways of God are mysterious, they are hidden from man, in many cases beyond their comprehension. Their obligation as a nation, however, is to fulfill all that. Following the brief introduction, Moshe moves into the purpose of the third address. He opens with a statement to the fact that Kulchem, all of you, are nitzavim hayom lifnei Hashem Elokechem, you are all standing before God, and then proceeds to list the various segments that comprised the Kulchem. Final 2 groups will be the focus of the Sicha, Michotev Eitzecha ad Shoev Mimecha, Chotev Eitzecha, the wood choppers, and the water carriers. The purpose of this gathering is to formally re-establish a covenantal relationship between God and the new generation that is on the verge of entering Eretz Canaan. La'avracha bebrit, to formalize the Brit. And this Brit began with the promises made to Avotecha, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, regarding the commitment that God made that Bnei Israel was to be his chosen nation. L'man hakim otecha hayom lo la'am, and also that v'hu yiyeh lecha le'elokim, that God was to be their God. The segment concludes with a statement to the effect that this Brit is not being made just with them, but also Asher einenu po ha'imanu hayom, all future generations that are not present at this gathering, but are to be bound by the Brit that they are now about to undertake. Before dealing with the last 2 items of the list, the water carriers and the wood choppers, a short digression to see how the various translators deal with the earlier items. For this purpose I shall be using the Hirsch, the Kaplan, and the more recent Chaim Miller's Chumash, the Gutnik edition. Rosh is a head, and therefore virtually all the translators suggest that it refers to the leadership group within the nation. Shiftechem will be a little bit more problematic. Hirsch prefers the Ramban's position, with Shiftechem translated as your tribes. Kaplan moves away from a literal translation of Shiftechem, preferring instead the offering of the Eben Ezra, your tribal chiefs. These were the people who were entrusted to the task of dividing the land of Eretz Israel amongst the various tribes. The Gutnik Chumash is partial to Rashi, who joins the 2 words into a single entity, Roshechem Shiftechem, the heads of your tribes. All 3 render Ziknechem as your elders, those who have experienced life and can offer guidance to the Roshechem. The Shotrim are generally referred to as a group of people whose job it is to enforce the law. Your officers, says Hirsch. Kaplan once again is more specific. Your law enforcers, your police officers, suggests the Gutnik Chumash. The final item in this pasuk is Kol Ish Yisrael, and here, on account of the fact that the next pasuk states Neshechem, both the Hirsch and the Kaplan treat Ish as the men of the nation. The Gutnik Chumash, however, links the V'shotrechem to Kol Ish Yisrael as a single entity, your police officers standing in front of every Jewish person. There is a degree of consensus amongst the translators for the next three terms: Tapchem, Neshechem, and Gerecha, your children, your wives, and the convert. The Gutnik translation will once again follow the position of Rashi and link V'gerecha with the last two items, the wood chopper and the water carrier, rendering the entire stanza as the converts within your camp who had been assigned positions ranging from woodcutters to water carriers, with the text in red inserted into the raw translation of the words.